Hi, everyone. I'm Susan Schofield, and I'm here with my husband, Corey Cabana, and my daughter, Janie Schofield. And we're here today because we're going to dispel the rumors that have been circulating all over the internet about our family for years. These rumors have led to our cases with DCFS. That's the Department of Child and Family Services. And the umbrella is CPS. That's Child Protective Services, but they go under so many acronyms you can't keep track of them. In Los Angeles, it is the Department of Child and Family Services, and that is known as DCFS. So before we get into most of the details on that, we're going to have some fun with
Janny's Jeopardy.
Janny's Jeopardy. So come on, Janny. Let's have some fun. We're going to be teaching people terminology that is used when you get inside
the system.
Thank you. All right, go for it.
Okay. Information received from other people that cannot be substantiated. A rumor.
What is hearsay?
Correct.
All right, good job.
Because hearsay, is nothing.
Exactly.
Hearsay is he said, she said, I thought, I think, I thought, or thought.
Exactly. And the thing is, just really quick about that, that's what they use to take the case further. It's all hearsay. Nothing has to be true. Doesn't have to be any evidence, but they will take hearsay in the Edelman courthouse as truth and move on from there.
They do use the I think, I thought, I saw.
It's true. It's true. All right, Janny, what's the next one?
The first hearing where families are denied their due process right to cross-examine the social worker.
What is the detention hearing?
Good job.
All right. So, Corey, why don't you talk about the detention hearing and why are we not allowed to cross-examine the social worker or the preparer of the report against us?
I would say that at the detention hearing, there is California Rule of the Court 5.674, which stipulates that at the detention hearing, and here's the interesting part, if the parent requests to interview or cross-examine the social worker, it has to be done at that time. If it is not done, they basically don't allow you to do it.
And our attorney, my attorney, actually said to me, the social worker is not going to be here.
And as a matter of fact, the social worker even presented us with a list of instructions for the court that says the social worker will not be there. So,
and we're going to actually show that document too.
So there is a law. The California Rules of the Court is an actual law that states that the social worker must be present to testify in the detention hearing, because you can't ask a piece of paper and get a different question answered
from a piece of paper.
Yes. So.
All right. So, Janny, what's number 3?
All right. The Los Angeles Superior Court that is named after a former member of the LA Board of Supervisors.
Who is Edmund Edelman, who was an LA County
Board of Supervisors member?
What's interesting is that California's governmental organization is 5 county supervisors of every county. So in Los Angeles County, you have a population of, 3.5 million or something like that in Los Angeles County. I don't know the population. I could be completely wrong. But the Board of Supervisors is in charge of the police department. They are in charge of hiring the director of Department of Children and Family Services. They're in charge of many different things. So basically, they are in charge of the CPS services. They get to hire and fire the boss. And if they get to hire and fire the boss, I think they get to tell the boss what to do.
But when they heard about our case, and again, I can only talk about my closed case with Janny. When they heard about that, they said, oh, it's confidential. We can't talk about that. So child abuse under DCFS custody
is apparently confidential.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, see, the entire system is confidential because there's things going on that they don't want out. That's why it's confidential. It's
And-
not confidential for any real reason of keeping the children safe and private and all of that.
Yeah.
What the privacy is all about is keeping the criminal acts of those who are involved in protection private. That's what they're doing.
Yes. And Janny, let's get to number 4.
All right. A nonprofit transitional shelter where DCFS houses children they cannot place.
What is Wayfinder?
That's correct.
Now, Wayfinder is a lovely little facility.
Let's talk about Wayfinder, shall we?
Wayfinder is where they place children when they don't have a foster home to place them in. And in our closed case, it was where Janny was taken because the first foster home had stairs that were not safe.
You know what, Janny, why don't you talk about that? First, I want to say, though, that the allegations against me were over medication for an illness that wasn't there. And yet it was on an emergency removal order that the social worker got.
Right.
Yet for this allegation, you would think immediately you would take my children to a hospital, because this is serious stuff. You're
Right.
playing with very serious medications here, granted.
the
You
social-
take them to a hospital, not a foster home in where, Janny?
Redondo Beach.
So from Valencia High School, they took you from Valencia High School
Yep.
to Redondo Beach. And what happened there?
Well, the house was actually very nice, but see, the foster mom, I don't know a lot about what happened there because I was too busy supposedly unpacking my stuff thinking I was going to stay there. But what I do know is that an hour later, the social worker had to, well, not an hour, but like a few hours, had to take us out of that home because supposedly the foster mom, like there were stairs and the foster mom didn't want to take us. And
You know, it's funny because we read in the report later that one of the reasons was that she wanted more money for you guys because I guess she saw the situation. And again, I like to reiterate that they were under the assumption that my kids were just fine, get them away from this awful mom, and they'll be just great. So another thing that I want to get to is immediately the social worker ended the medication for, again, I can only talk about the closed case, ended the medication for my daughter, sending her into severe withdrawals. Janny, can you talk about that? Because she took
Yes, I
you from the foster home.
Well, I'd like to do
Oh,
that
yeah, go ahead,
in
go
a
ahead.
sequence.
Go ahead.
Okay. All right. So the first day they go to the foster home, they spend a few hours there, and then they're taken away because of steep stairs, because someone was going to have difficulty navigating
Yes.
in stairs. So they were taken to Wayfinder. Now, Wayfinder is it's a cinder block building
Basically, yeah.
where every room in there is made out of cinder blocks, and it's concrete floors, concrete walls, metal beds,
basically, yeah.
and
So tell us about your first days at Wayfinder.
Well, the first days of Wayfinder, I never liked the place, but the first 2 days actually were not that bad relatively. But after the 5th day, that's when it started to happen.
See, and here's the thing here. During those first days that Janny was taken, they took her off all meds. They would not give her her lithium and her clozaril, which are very serious medications for a very serious illness that people just kind of can't make up.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And they took her off cold turkey. And
There's-
at first she was...
there's a
You know?
medical term for that. It's
Right.
called antipsychotic discontinuation
Asian
syndrome.
And
it says that clozaril is the most painful of the antipsychotics to be taken off of cold turkey, and that it is absolutely not recommended, and
that's why I want to talk about the next part. After the 5th or 6th day, I can't remember, I was eating lunch at Wayfinder. And then out of nowhere, I just threw up all over myself. And at first I was like, just the bad cafeteria food. But then it just started happening. And before I knew it, I couldn't even hold water down. And then I started to get scared, and I was like, this isn't good.
So for the next
2 weeks.
13 days.
Basically 2 weeks.
Janny was unable to keep anything. I mean, a cup of water would come right back. And so she went to 4 ERs in 13 days, and we have a progression of her weight loss. She lost 20 pounds in those 13 days because she was unable to keep anything down, including water. And on the last hospitalization visit, they had to give her IVs to keep her hydration level up because she was severely dehydrated, which is one of the side effects of the withdrawal symptoms of going through it like that.
Yeah. So go ahead, Janny. What was that like?
Well, it was so scary. It was by far the scariest thing I've ever experienced in my life. I mean, for lack of a better word, I almost died.
And the social worker, when I kept asking, I didn't hear from you on the phone, and I didn't know what was going on because, again, I was the quote-unquote offender in all of this. So I couldn't have any regular contact with her. And the social worker writes me back saying, Janny has the stomach flu.
Now, there's no temperature notated at the 4 different ERs, so we know the stomach flu is not. You can't have stomach flu without temperature.
And each of those doctors, and these are hospitals that they had to take her to. Wayfinder actually, in that case, they made sure you went to the hospital.
Yes,
so
they did.
UCLA, the doctor there gave her a prescription for, guess what? The same medication. So they thought that DCFS, social worker, was going to give her the medications and that she didn't actually take them from my home, which she did.
And she
all
did,
of the medications were taken
remember,
by the social worker.
It's notated on the medical record that she verbally agreed to the medical instructions.
Right. Which
giving
was,
the medication.
Here's the refill. There it is, lithium, clozaril, and even Thorazine they gave you back. And then what happened, she didn't give it to you. And then a few days later, you ended up at LAC USC.
Yes.
Where another doctor was like, why is she off the medication? Here's another prescription for lithium and clozaril. Then what happened?
Well, I can't remember a lot from that time except for the very serious stuff.
Yeah, because they didn't give you that medication.
No.
In fact, what was it that you were saying before about that? That the court now, the court actually knew about this.
Well, okay.
We have proof of that too.
In the court documentation, it does say that DCFS is, supposed to put them in the hospital for evaluation, and all these lovely steps are laid out, except for the fact that they didn't do any of them.
Well,
and the thing is, had they done them, the case would have been done right when it started. Go ahead, Janny.
Oh, I was just going to say that actually my short-term memory loss that I suffer with now is actually a side effect of the withdrawals I went through 3.5 years ago.
And I want you to differentiate between your illness, schizophrenia, and the short-term memory loss. Yes, go ahead.
Schizophrenia actually doesn't always involve memory loss. I mean, for me, actually, it never did. It was just hallucinations and psychotic episodes.
Can you describe some of those hallucinations and psychotic episodes for people who don't understand what schizophrenia is?
My psychotic episodes involved me trying to jump out the window a couple times. And
what's going on inside of your mind at that time? What's happening to you physically?
That involves the bad hallucinations. Well, with my hallucinations, some of them were good. Some of them didn't tell me anything bad to do. And some of them were bad. And the bad ones are the ones that would tell me to try to jump out the window or hit someone or kick someone or slap someone. And that's how the hallucinations tie into the episodes, is they're the ones that cause the episodes.
And then the difference with that and what you suffer from now with what you're talking about is memory losses.
Yes. Well, here's the difference. Schizophrenia, for me, I could always remember things before I was taken. Now, I not only can't really remember anything anymore, well, short-term memory. My long-term memory is fine. But now I forget things. Okay, someone tells me something. Chances are I'm going to forget it within 15 seconds. And at that point, it's completely out of my brain. Then there's the learning disability that CPS caused me. I discovered about a year ago that somehow in withdrawals, I lost my ability to do math. I've been good at math since I was 2 up until 16 and a half.
Yeah, it's true. She knew negative numbers at 2 years old. It's amazing. She has a 146 IQ. At least she was tested at 4 years old with that. And again, I can't, the whole thing is I created all this. Well, guess what? I can't create a 146 IQ at 4. I don't know if anybody else can, but I certainly can't. And I can't create schizophrenia. It's unbelievable. And all of this started because of the belief that the social worker had, along with what was happening in the media. Because, see, the problem is, and here's where I come into it, is I posted all this stuff on YouTube. I posted our daily lives on YouTube. And in some of those videos, the kids were sleepy. They were tired. And that's because the medication does have those side effects. They're real side effects. But that is the reality of it. And you're not always tired on medication. Sometimes you are, sometimes you're not. And Janny can go into, detailing,
Well, being on clozaril and lithium at the same time, although the tiredness is more a side effect of the clozaril than lithium. Now I'm on clozaril now, back on clozaril, but I'm not on as much as I was before I was taken.
And you're on the lithium combination.
Yes, I am. And see, I'm not as tired now because I'm on less clozaril. But when I was on 350 before I was taken, yes, I was very tired, but I was stable.
And here's the thing. Janny had mentioned before this all happened that she wanted to try going off all medications, which I said, fine. But what did I say?
She said, Janny, you would have to go into the hospital.
To a small degree, medium degree,
to a big
large
degree. To a large degree, okay. But there was a reason for that. And it wasn't just being away from my mom. It was that the hospitals have turned themselves around over the last 10 years. Back in 2009 at UCLA, in the children's ward, they had art class, board games, cooking class, everything. Outside time for longer than any hospital would. And now, 3 meals a day, 5 minutes of outside time, 30 minutes of TV time, and the rest of the time, guess what you're doing? Sitting, staring at the clock.
And that is a really big problem for somebody who has schizophrenia, especially.
And especially me, because I am a schizophrenic who needs to be busy every single second.
And that was the way it was when she was born. I have it documented from basically, 2 weeks, a month into it. She always needed to be out. I had to take her out every single day, all day long, to get her to sleep at night. And she would sleep 20 to 30 minutes in a time period, and then wake up, be up for about 3 hours, then go back for 20 to 30 minutes, up for another 3 hours, back for another 20, 30 minutes. And this is how it was around the clock. It was very abnormal. I brought her to the doctor. The first pediatrician said, well, some babies are active, some babies are passive. Yours is very, very active. So,
and see, that is why with an environment like that, it doesn't help me. It makes me worse.
And so what happened when going back to Wayfinder, where the social worker put you, what was going on there?
Well, that was pretty boring too.
And here's the thing. I want to mention this really quickly. They took her from Valencia High School, where she was in a special ed program, but stable special ed, not bad, high functioning special ed. And they took her off all meds. They had to put her in Wayfinder, a transitional shelter for homeless youth. And then they discovered that she's a problem child. So now, and we're going to get to this in the next program. Now she has to go to a lockdown facility known as Maryvale. But again, that'll be in our next episode. Go ahead, Janny.
I was just going to say, for me, for my brain, boredom is dangerous for me, because boredom will oftentimes make me do crazy things.
And the problem is that people will look at that, and the social worker actually looked at that as well, as attention seeking. This is a problem. This is not attention seeking. Janny, you can explain what this is.
Well,
tell people the difference between attention seeking and schizophrenia, hallucinations, and all that.
Schizophrenia and hallucinations, you're not thinking about attention. You're thinking about what the voices are telling you. And attention seeking is attention seeking. and see, I love attention, but I wouldn't write a suicide note for attention.
In all of this, where was the Department of Mental Health?
Recently, I sent an email to the Los Angeles County Department of Mental Health and asked them that very question. I asked, why are children in the Department of Children and Family Services being cared for that have diagnosis of mental illnesses of all varying degrees? Why is the Department of Mental Health of Los Angeles County not involved? I did get a call from a doctor, and she was told by the director of the Department of Mental Health to call.
How long ago was that?
It was about a week.
Yeah.
And someone's supposed to call back next week.
Oh, we'll keep you posted on that, because most of the time these people just don't call back. And
but it's important that the Department of Mental Health should be highly involved when you have children that are being cared for by the state. And I'm sorry, but the social workers are not mental health experts. I don't care what their degree is in. They are not mental health professionals, and they should not be treated as experts of that field.
And the doctors that my daughter went to actually, gave verbal warnings. That's documented in the paperwork we have, the medical records. However, these medical records are not allowed in evidence in my cases.
No, they are. Actually, they are in evidence. They're just ignored.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's true. That's true, because I've said everything everywhere.
No, not that you said.
Right.
The documents are entered into evidence, so anyone can open our case file and look at those documents. The problem is that the lawyer on your side never presented it in such a way as to present the argument, so the judge never had to make a decision on it. So if you go to the detention hearing and the judge asks your lawyer, is your client prepared to waive the reading of the petition, the advisement of her rights, and enter a plea, Miss Blah Blah? Okay? That the judge says 3 questions in one statement. The lawyer responds with, yes, Your Honor, general denial plea. So what happened to those other 2 questions? Were they answered under yes? Now, the problem with that is that question number 2 was advisement of rights. Now, the advisement of rights is that very same California Rule of the Court 5.674 that says that the parent has the right to ask for the social worker to testify at the detention hearing, and that the judge may not consider any document without the preparer prepared to testify. Okay, that's what the 5.674 says. Now, according to people that we've talked to later on, even lawyers along the way, they say that law does not exist. Or that law doesn't say what we think it says, except for the fact that it says detention hearing, dependency court, if and social worker / preparer of the report present to testify.
We have a video from that actual day on April 8th, 2019, when my daughter had already lost 20 pounds in 13 days.
Yes, I look like a skeleton.
And I was lucky enough to get that footage, because I monitored to the point of, if you see Janny and Corey right next to me, basically I'm monitored just like this when I'm talking to, when I was talking to my daughter. Again, I can't talk about
This social worker is
the
this
open case.
close. There is no separation.
Right.
There is no privacy. The monitor is sitting within inches.
And so I got lucky that day. And actually a friend of ours was there that day too. And
Actually, that's because the social worker was trying to get me into Maryville that day.
yes, and so she could not be there. And so she left a really nice guy who was there. And you had to go to the bathroom. And he couldn't go to the bathroom with you.
Well, no, as a man.
Yeah. Unlike Maryvale, and we'll get to that one in the next show.
Yeah.
But he couldn't go into the bathroom. So I was able to take you into the bathroom, and that's where I just decided, okay, I got to catch this on tape. I got to do something here. I can't just keep doing nothing. And so so you can see what is in the footage in this tape.
What's happening? They won't take care of me. They just let me try to kill myself. What's today? 8th grade? What year? 2019?
Welcome back, everyone, to the Schofield Truth podcast here. It's our first one, and we're talking about the rumors that have spread across the internet about our family. And we're dispelling those rumors. We're laying it out on the line, what's true, what's not true, and how is it possible that a social worker could make decisions that could actually be fatal in your child's life, all because they believed, they had an assumption of what was true, and it wasn't. Thank you for joining us, everyone, on the Schofield Truth. You can get more information on our show. It is the SchofieldTruth.com, our new website, and we are going to have up all information about what is going on with the Department of Child and Family Services in LA County. Again, I cannot talk about my open case, but I can talk about the closed case, which is Janie Schofield right here. And thank you so much.